Oh, sorry. Yeah. So you, my bad. So yeah, I'm joining Drew today. I'm Whitney Johnson. Considerably less good player, but we're here casting the VGC Midseason Showdown at Game Cafe in Independence, Missouri.
So, of course, round one, I think we have Leonard Craft third versus Devan Brown. Should be an interesting match. Leonard won the PC yesterday, so got a lot of momentum coming in this game. And of course, Leonard, in and of his own, is already a really good player. So, Devan, I know he's one of the better locals. I don't know if he's been active, so it'll be interesting to see how he does here. But should be a really good match, hopefully.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like Leonard, obviously, fairly well known. He's seen a lot of success. Devan is really kind of like a hometown hero. He hasn't played in a while, but when he showed up to events, he usually brings some interesting teams and has seen some success. So it'll certainly be fun. And it looks like we're about to be jumping into game, and we'll be able to see what these two players are bringing.
Like, what that interesting stuff, like, that's definitely a thing. 'Cause I remember for 2016 St. Louis Regionals, we were on Mega Houndoom and went 6-3.
Yeah, like...
And he would have cut had he not double missed Overheat versus Chuppa Cross in like the last round or something.
Oh, that's the worst.
Or like 2 rounds earlier or so. So I guess he would have had to win a couple more rounds. But we got team preview here. Leonard, of course, using Landorus, Fini, Charizard, Snorlax, Togedemaru, and Cresselia, while Devan going to be on the top of your screen using Heatran, Landorus, Cresselia, Amoonguss, and Zapdos. So definitely like spin-offs of like really common team archetypes that we've seen. Leonard using something very similar to what he was using yesterday, which he was using Snow's team. Of course, Snow third in the world, and that team had over the Fini, I believe. And of course, Devan is using something really similar to what Edu's, except he has a Heatran over a Tapu. And that's actually a really interesting choice here. Like, we don't see, like, of course, Tapus aren't as strong this year, but you still really want terrain, because just letting a team get its terrain up at all times is not something that usually people want to do. So
yeah, for sure, maintaining terrain control, while not 100% critical, it's not as game breaking as weather. It can be really important, especially when we see a lot of like those Lele Metagross teams, or if you're like Bulu with Kartana or something where you're boosting damage. Trying to take that advantage away from your opponent can be really important for swinging games.
Yeah, and the big thing here with no Tapu is there's that Amoonguss on Devan's team, and the only Tapu in this game is Fini. So of course Amoonguss isn't going to be able to put things like Snorlax to sleep or Togedemaru. Of course, they can still put Cress, Heatran, and Landorus to sleep because they're floating. But that's a big thing for Trick Room, because one thing that Amoonguss is so good at is beating Trick Room, and Snorlax was, of course, the premier Trick Room sweeper this season.
Yeah, for sure.
To sleep before it starts wrecking your team and could potentially be really big. But we get the leads here. Tapu Fini and Togedemaru on Leonard's side, very throwback to 20. And Metagross and Landorus on Devan's side. So we saw that the Landorus, this is not Scarfini, seeing that the Landorus first. So this is probably your prototypical Fini set. Don't know if it's going to be called. But Togedemaru, not a mono we've really seen this year all that much. Like, of course, it's got new competition with Raichu being legal, but the fake out here is actually really important. Just being able to stop one big hit. And Fini is in a good spot with Muddy Water here. So just like a Specs Muddy Water is going to do a lot of damage. So it'd be interesting to see what Devan does to respond to that.
Yeah, for sure, because Leonard does have a lot of options here. We do see that Devan not wanting his Landorus to take any damage from that Fini, scared of potential for a Muddy Water or even a like Icy Wind or something, which some Finis have been known to carry this season as well, since it got access to that move due to the move tutors. So do you see the Togedemaru go for the fake out into the Landorus slot? So not wanting to take any damage there, as the Stomping Tantrum looks like it is going to connect with the Togedemaru. However, Togedemaru holds on with its Focus Sash. So it's going to be around for one more turn, as the Tapu Fini does go for the Icy Wind, which is going to give Tapu Fini the speed advantage over this Metagross and this Zapdos.
So, interesting that the Zapdos actually came in, because when if you're expecting a switch there, of course, you're assuming that the Metagross would have wanted to switch out to Zapdos EQ, but of course, Icy Wind Fini there is big, because now, I don't know if it's going to be able to KO, but you can potentially shut down a potential Tailwind, because you can like Zing Zap Moonblast Zapdos. But of course, because Togedemaru's on the field, Zapdos can't actually hit anything because of Lightning Rod. But we're going to see Metagross switch out for Landorus. That's actually a potentially very risky switch, because of course Tapu Fini does really commonly carry Muddy Water. So if Leonard decides to go for that, which he potentially might not be seeing, Togedemaru actually go Spiky Shield here, so not going for like a Zing Glitch. And we see another Icy Wind from Fini. So I guess just accepting that Tailwind could potentially go up, and still just wanting to like lower the speeds of everything else. That does good damage to Landorus. And we see little Tailwind here. So
I actually really like that turn on Devan's part, because he knows that if he takes another Icy Wind, that this Tailwind is going to mean that, essentially he's at the same speed as he was before. So switching that Landorus, it means it is still going to be faster, although he does still have to deal with this Tapu Fini. Also, a good protect on Leonard's side of the field there with that Togedemaru, preserving that Lightning Rod to prevent Zapdos from potentially going for like a Gigavolt Havoc into that Tapu Fini to take it off the field. So that does also put him in a decent position as well.
Yeah, but a big thing though that Landorus is actually coming in is that it's going to outspeed Zapdos, and it could potentially go and knock it out and mitigate that Lightning Rod. And then that would of course free Zapdos up for a potential Gigavolt. We're actually going to see Fini protect.
Yeah, so I definitely think Leonard is kind of trying to scout for that Gigavolt Havoc, if he can eat it into a Protect, that's good, like just anticipating that this Landorus is going to be faster than the Zapdos to KO that Togedemaru. So that does give him the opportunity, if he loses him on, to go ahead and bring Togedemaru back in, which is going to give him Fake Out Pressure one more time, which is something that he could take advantage of.
So, of course, Snorlax being the switch there. Yes. So there's still a threat of bringing Togedemaru in here. Now, I guess you theoretically could, but Earthquake is a thing still. But it'll be interesting to see if Landorus wants to go for like a knock. Actually, it's not even going to do that. It's going to switch out into Metagross. So,
yeah, so it's a...
Oh, go ahead. Just see a Roost come off from Zapdos. So wanting to get all that health back. Going to get back up to almost full. And we see another Icy Wind from Fini. So it's not even worried really about clicking Muddy Water and missing. Just wanting to get that speed and board control set up for whatever he has in the back, along with Togedemaru. You actually see Frustration into Metagross. Doesn't really do much because Metagross is so bulky.
Metagross has such great defense, as well as that Steel typing, giving it a resistance to the normal type attack. So we should
play a lot from Leonard actually, because that double up would knock out Landorus.
Right. So he makes sure he gets Landorus off the field, and then that gets him some field conditions a little more favorable, especially once this Tailwind runs out, because this Zapdos I think is now at -3 speed. Probably not going to be slow enough for Snorlax outspeed, but almost anything else that Leonard has would be good enough for it. So we do see the Iron Head connect with the Snorlax. It only dealt like 40%, which Snorlax is just going to heal right back up with its berry. Actually, it looks like it's finishing with more HP than it started with, thanks to that berry. And the high horsepower looks like it's going into the Metagross. It's going to deal a lot of damage, but again, because Metagross has such great natural bulk, it takes that fairly well.
Yeah. So, depending on what move Leonard's Tapu Fini has, I don't know if it's going to be able to pick up the Metagross. Seeing how he's been playing it, wouldn't surprise me if he's just content with going for another Icy Wind, because of course that Landorus is back there, and it's been like kind of switching in freely, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the case here, because nothing on Devan's side switches out. So Togedemaru comes back in, hoping to take that Thunderbolt, but seeing a Protect from Metagross probably signifies a Tailwind here, and we see Muddy Water. So that is we've seen two moves. So presuming that Actually, no, we've seen 3. We've seen Protect, too, I guess. And doesn't do a lot to Zapdos, but that tail one getting up is important.
Yeah, so that's actually
a really good switch on Leonard's side because earning is Protect. You just have a free fake out into that in a Muddy Water if you want to go for it.
right, and because Devan's Landorus in the back has taken a good portion of damage, it can't really switch in to this Muddy Water, and since that Metagross can't protect either, it's going to be that slot is just really threatened right now.
Yeah, so Zapdos finally resets all those Icy 1-drops. So, for Togedemaru go for a Spiky Shield, so not even want to go for the fake out on it. We see Iron Head into Togedemaru. Good play there. That puts it into Muddy Water range because of the recoil damage from hitting the Spiky Shield. Leonard, so picks up a KO. Doesn't do a lot to Heatran, but that's still good chip damage. Of course, if that's something like a Shucka Berry on Heatran, that's not range, so that's potentially big damage for the late game.
So it looks like it's going to take 2 more Muddy Waters to take out that Heatran. But again, that is good chip damage, especially like you said, if it's Shuka, that means that you can freely KO with Earthquake later and not have to worry about it surviving.
Yeah, so this is where some speed tiers is going to be really important for Devan, because Heatran is faster than Togedemaru, or faster than Zapdos rather. You can just like Heat Wave and then Thunderbolt the Fini. But this Togedemaru is really being a pain in Devan's side. That Lightning Rod is just putting on so much pressure. Especially with this Fini and how Devan really has nothing for it outside of Zapdos right now.
And Leonard has
blocking Zapdos' way of hitting it. It's just so good.
Yeah, Leonard has done a really good job of like preserving that Togedemaru, going for the protects or the spiky shields rather. So even though it's down to only 1 HP, he's really keeping it around on the field. And again, we see that Togedemaru switch out, giving him another chance to go ahead and bring it back in.
Yeah, we see hidden power come out from Zapdos, just pointing that Togedemaru gone. Actually, a sub from Heatran. So, not wanting to get knocked out by Muddy Water. Actually, the Muddy Water dodge. So, gonna keep that sub up. That was potentially a risky play by Devan because, of course, he would have just lost health for no reason. But
right, he would have just lost HP.
Now when it's free to fire off, it's just now in a really threatening spot because, of course, Heatran behind a sub is something you really never want to. However, you got Snorlax with high horsepower and Muddy Water, so probably not as big of an issue.
So, for the first time this game, we get to see the Zapdos connect with an electric type attack into Fini, dealing a good portion of damage. Then the Heat Wave also connects with Fini, and that does proc the 50% berry. So Fini's sitting pretty well, getting a lot of its HP back. So we do see this Muddy Water come out. That should be enough to break the substitute on Heatran, which would put it in range for like a high horsepower from the Snorlax to go ahead and pick up the KO.
See a 50% berry on Zapdos. So that's potentially really big. Target that, but actually doesn't even target down anything. Goes for their side and finds Figgy Berry, finds a 50% berry of its own, and gets back to basically full. So, Heatran, not really doing much here, but of course, even Landorus in the back can't really do much. This Fini's just putting on so much Devan's, and because you can't switch in that Landorus for Intimidate, wouldn't be surprised if Snorlax just starts getting set up soon.
Yeah, so Leonard's really, taking some slow chip damage and using that Tapu Fini to control the board, as best he can, is really starting to help him wear down Devan's Pokemon and kind of get in a position where he can finish up the game.
We see another icy win from this Fini, just slowing down Zapdos and Heatran. Actually did really good damage to Zapdos there, so that might be in return. But we just see another Heat Wave come out from Heatran, just trying to get chip, and Snorlax just going to do what it does best and get up another Recycle.
Yeah, so Snorlax going for these long games, of course, but there's no reason not to. If he's not really threatened by the Pokemon on the opponent's side of the field, he should make the safe plays every turn if he can.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure, keeping that berry, that way there's not a lot that Devan can do to remove the Snorlax.
See Togedemaru come right back out. So I think it's been on 1 HP since the first turn of the game, and it finally catches that Thunderbolt from Zapdos. Of course, probably aimed at the Fini and Heatran Protect there from the high horsepower. But of course, this is another situation where Leonard gets in Togedemaru at like the perfect time. Just getting it on turns where you protect and just getting the threat and damage off with the partner. He's playing this really well.
Yeah, for sure, because when he brings in that Togedemaru, since Heatran's already burned its Protect, it's threatened by Fake Out, so that slot, is in a position where it's probably going to be taking some significant damage. So Devan does go ahead and switch out that Heatran for the Landorus, which is going to get an Intimidate onto the Snorlax, which is going to be big, helping both the Zapdos and the Landorus take those attacks a little bit better. Togedemaru not wanting to Fake Out, instead going for the Spiky Shield, to stick around, make sure it can still be alive to take hits from that Zapdos. As the high horsepower does go into what was the Heatran slot. So that's a really good turn on Devan's side of the field. He takes no damage and gets the opportunity to get his Zapdos back up to nearly full HP.
Yeah, the big thing here is Landorus is now free to go for an Earthquake and finally get rid of Togedemaru. We actually just see it go for U-turn. So that's a pretty safe play. Because Togedemaru just burned its Spiky Shield and can't do anything. And if he wants to switch into Fini, you just switch that. You just get it right back out. And of course, I'm assuming this probably was a double target in the Togedemaru because of the Fini. Because if Togedemaru switches out into Fini, you get U-turn. You just get a free T-Bolt off into it. Oh, we actually see a dodge from the Muddy Water, man. From Muddy Water.
The Muddy Water accuracy drop coming in clutch there, allowing that Snorlax to dodge the Thunderbolt.
That's potentially big because that might... I don't know if that would have proc Berry or not, but that's a turn where you're potentially forcing Snorlax, like, recycle in the late game, but now it just gets to potentially just attack then. So... it wasn't really important damage for this turn because Snorlax, of course, isn't getting threatened anyway. But if it came down to it, that Thunderbolt might be big with a Landorus, Charizard. So Charizard Y, some Nozard X, bringing out the Sun, which this could potentially actually be really big, giving this Heatran Sun. We haven't seen the item, of course, from it. So giving Heatran Sun and potentially a Fire EMZ off of Overheat, it's this Snorlax could potentially just go down. We see Overheat target Zapdos, picking up the one-hit KO thanks to that Sun boost. Charizard Wide is being so strong, removing that threat from the field. And you just see a Heat Wave from Heatran.
Right, so that does make me think that, maybe there's not a Fire EMZ on the Heatran, because I don't think there would have been any reason not to go for that into the Snorlax slot there, as the high horsepower does connect, and we do see the Shuka Berry.
Yeah.
However,
not going to help at all.
Right. So now, we joked about this a lot in the Discord chat. Now that Leonard does have a 3-1 lead, he can just go for that game freeze with Curse to win the game.
Hopefully, we don't get a game freeze, but of course, yeah. If you do have Curse here, it's Landers can't start shuffling Intimidate, so you could just start setting up with Snorlax if you wanted to, of course.
Right. Now, because that Charizard has taken a special attack drop, it's not going to be threatening nearly as hard as Landorus, it normally would against Landorus, and of course it does just go down to this Rock Slide as Snorlax goes for another Recycle, really setting itself up for the long game against this Landorus.
Yeah, just making sure that the Rock Slide flinch sweep is less visible. It's you're just it's gonna take longer for it to knock you out, and the odds of just getting flinched to death just get decreased by that. So I like that Recycle rather than just clicking Frustration at -2, which probably wouldn't do a lot anyway. So you just see another Rock Slide. Of course, this is honestly Devan's only out, and it's gonna take
several flinches.
But of course, Fini flinches, and of course that Frustration does no damage, but all damage in this situation does, of course, just one left, and we just see more rocks being thrown.
Yeah, so this is a thing, where there's a Rock Slide, there's a way. And we do see this Icy Wind connect with the Landorus. I do think that's going to be enough to pick up the KO and end our game 1.
But yeah, that was a really, like, I'm not gonna say dominant, but that was just such a good showing by Leonard of how important it is, like how important Lightning Rod is to this team, and just mitigating Zapdos. From what Devan brought, that was his only way of dealing with it. And just letting Fini sit on the board. I think he clicked Icy Wind probably, like 8 times that game?
Right, yeah, he got several really important speed drops, which really forced Devan's hand into playing, like setting Tailwind. He had no option but to set Tailwind because he kept getting dropped speed from that Icy Wind. And so that really gave Leonard the opportunity to just take control of that match. And, Devan had some good plays. He made some good switches and everything else. But for the most part, I definitely feel like Leonard kind of held onto that game the entire time pretty well.
Yeah, and seeing how big of a deal Togedemaru was in that game, wouldn't be surprised if Devan just commits to getting rid of it as fast as possible this game, rather than ignoring it.
Yeah, and I definitely think,
but I don't know.
I definitely think that's something that he has to do, given that, like, looking at his team composition, the only way he has to deal damage to that Tapu Fini is with his Zapdos. So if Togedemaru is still around, that Tapu Fini, again, is just going to be free to keep clicking those Icy Winds and Muddy Waters and just slowly chipping down the health of Devan's Pokemon.
Yeah.
So both players pick their 4 relatively quickly for this game, too. So it seems like they both probably have a game plan that they're ready to go.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what Devan switches up. I think if you're Leonard, you can kind of play more of the same game, but it actually looks like he's the one who's switching it up. And going with the Cresselia lead this time. Instead of Togedemaru, we see Cresselia Landorus come out from Devan. So Cresselia, Pokemon we didn't see at all from either side this game, and they both get led here. So be interesting to see what they have up their sleeve. Of course, big part here is you gotta wonder, like, if there's potential more Icy Wind support X each one has. So, and here we go. Tapu Fini switches out for Snorlax. So, of course, if Leonard has Trick Room, wouldn't be a bad idea to set it up now. And we see
going for that, Trick Room mode with Snorlax on the field, kind of starting to set it up early. Definitely not a bad play to be making. So Devan going for the U-turn, that gives respectable chip damage onto the Cresselia and does give him the opportunity to gain some switch initiative. As he goes for a Calm Mind with his Cresselia, kind of setting it up as a means to, I guess, counter that Fini a little bit, get enough Calm Mind boost, and then you can KO Fini. As Cresselia does go for the Trick Room, which is going to make Snorlax the fastest Pokemon on the field for the next 4 turns.
Yeah. And once again, like, I know the Amoonguss wasn't brought out here. That's just this is where, like, the Tapu Fini, like, is, even though it hasn't done anything this game, it's already put in a lot of work. Like, because if Devan has that Amoonguss, like, it now can't do anything to Snorlax. And Snorlax has a free potential belly drum here.
Right.
But you also have to be careful because Metagross is threatening a lot of damage with, like, an Iron Head or potentially a Hammer Arm. But we see Snorlax just go for that belly drum this turn. So going to maximize for 50% of his health, but of course we'll come right back up to full thanks to that Figgy Berry and the Gluttony combo. And we actually see Cresselia go for a Light Screen this turn. So
yeah, so that's going to support Snorlax. Snorlax is already extremely high special defense, by giving it the Light Screen, which is essentially a +1 to its special defense as well. And so we do see the Iron Head connect with the Snorlax. Deals just under 50% damage, so respectable damage from that Snorlax. However, respectable damage from that Metagross, excuse me. But now that the Snorlax is at +6, it's going to be able to fire off a ton of damage into either one of these slots, especially since we've seen the high horsepower. So it can, pick up the KO on Metagross if it wants. It can deal a ton of damage to Cresselia if it wants. So that's going to put Leonard in a really commanding position while he can really abuse these last few turns of Trick Room.
Well, yeah, Metagross is going to protect here, not wanting to get hit by that high horsepower. Leonard makes a good read, just goes for the Recycle. He's getting another berry. And as Cresselia just continues to calm mine, that just makes this light screen from Leonard all the more important.
Right, because
normally at +3, this Cresselia is going to start doing damage. It's like that's one thing about Cresselia is like normally damage output is really lackluster, but now that it's at +3, it starts to become a threat. But that light screen just keeps it basically irrelevant and just is honestly just allowing Leonard to just target down the Metagross here or just anything else because Snorlax is going to be taking probably nothing from this Cresselia. Of course, Metagross switching out into Heatran actually. So I guess just sacking Heatran because +6 high horsepower would just KO straight through the Sugar Berry. But we actually see Leonard putting this Cresselia gone, but it actually lives with like a sliver of health and gets all the way back up to left half with its Tapu Berry. See Psychic into Togedemaru, breaking that Focus Sash. I actually see an Encore into, so that was targeted for the Metagross, trying to lock it into Protect. So that was a good play by Leonard actually, really like what seemed like a risky switch in that sense. But of course Snorlax is still threatening KOs on both of these Pokemon.
So, right, so Snorlax, it did, like 99% damage to that Cresselia on that last turn, meaning its frustration is going to be able to pick up the KO right here. And again, it also just threatens the Heatran because it can just go for that high horsepower and pick up the KO. At +6, it'll KO through Shuka Berry, just no problem. As we do see that Figgy Berry that it found on the recycle coming in clutch there as the Heat Wave drops it just below 50% HP, allowing it to eat that berry and get right back up to full.
And once again, another really good switch there from Leonard, knowing that his Trick Room is going to be up, and because of that light screen, Heatran was going to, like it did there, just not doing a lot of damage to Cresselia. And even though he got through one Trick Room against the Snorlax, it's going to be tough to make sure that he gets through 2, because I don't know if it's going to be close if Ironhead plus like Heat Wave KOs Cresselia here. So we might be seeing just another Trick Room here for Snorlax to just continue running through Devan's team.
Right, and even if the double target would be enough to pick up the KO on Cresselia with the amount of HP it has remaining, there is also the potential for a berry. However, we don't see that berry proc, meaning Cresselia is holding a different item, and the double target is enough to pick up the KO. So that is good for Devan, being able to prevent that Trick Room from coming up again. However, the Snorlax is still free to just pick a KO wherever it pleases.
Yeah. That was a good play from Leonard, just like, well, it was just a very free attack for Leonard, knowing that Devan has to at least try and deny this Trick Room so he can not fight Snorlax in the Trick Room. Just has to focus all that attention on Cress and just let him fire off a free +6 attack. So
yeah, I definitely agree. Devan had no choice but to double. So we do see this Togedemaru back in. Again, it's got the Fake Out, which is going to be really important, for preventing like this Landorus from going for a potential superpower or Earthquake to get rid of the Togedemaru itself, or preventing Heatran from going from the Heat Wave, getting rid of Togedemaru. And so again, we're kind of in a position where the Heatran can't freely protect, because if it does, it's going to be locked into Encore, locked into Protect on the Encore. But if it doesn't attack, it's just going to be taking a ton of damage.
Yeah, we just see that Fake Out go on to Landorus, which is a safe play from Leonard because, as we saw in Game 1, that Landorus took an alarmingly little amount of damage from Tapu Fini, so noting that it's probably an Assault Vest and just knowing he has a free Fake Out frustration, it just deletes it turn 1.
Right.
And just like, Heatran really isn't a threat there, right? Because you have Tapu Fini in the back. So,
right, and now Tapu Fini will be dealing single target damage with its Muddy Waters, and also, like, its Heat Waves aren't going to be enough to KO this Snorlax. It can't burn the Snorlax anymore because the terrain's coming up, and so, like, Leonard's got 2 options to hit that Heatran for super effective damage with extremely high-powered attacks.
Yeah, we just see Muddy Water coming out from... Gonna do around 60%, so easy to a KO. We just see another Heat Wave come out.
So the out here for Devan is a lot of Muddy Water misses and a lot of high horsepower misses, so those are low odds. However, Leonard not wanting to risk it, not wanting to be like, oh, well, if I miss this, high horsepower, and then he gets a second heat wave off on me, then I lose the game, you know? So I don't really think of that.
Yeah, I think here, like, because the recycle was safe there, because if Muddy Water misses, you don't have to worry. Like, if you double miss her, then you're in, like, a not so great spot. But because you hit the Muddy Water, that just put Heatran in return range. So that was a free recycle.
Exactly.
That really just gave more turns for Fini to hit Muddy Water and just minimize the odds of Leonard losing because of misses.
Exactly.
So that was a really impressive set from Leonard. He won those games in two completely different fashions.
Right, he played two completely different modes on his team in each game, but was able to just, nothing that Devan did could really disrupt what he was going for, and so he was just able to control the board himself.
Yeah, it's like that for... Alright, so that was round one here at the Independence, Missouri Midseason Showdown break here, and we'll be back with round two.